It is time for NRCS Partyline today for your Thursday, June the 3rd, 2021. NRCS Partyline brought to you by Wimmer Optician St. Cloud, Chiropractic Connection of St. Joseph. The sun is shining. We have a temp of 74. Our forecast says the high should reach around, 88 today? Good gracious. 88 today, 62 tonight, partly cloudy, and then tomorrow, 94. 94 tomorrow, but 74 currently. My name is Brad Melke. Good morning. In studio with us, we have from the Soil and Water Conservation District, Dennis Fuchs, and also from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Chris Hogge. Chris and Dennis, good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here. I like the air conditioning. It's very nice.
Is it comfortable? Is it okay temperature for you?
Perfect. 69 degrees.
Perfect. All right.
Right on the money.
Beautiful.
So, I was thinking, Brad, maybe we could talk a little bit about breakfast on the farm coming up on Saturday.
Do you have to bring your own, portable fan to keep cool or what?
Well, it's going to be unique this year. They're looking at having a drive-through because of the pandemic and, with a lot of these activities, it takes a tremendous amount of planning to pull these events off. And they're expecting 1,000 people. But they're going to have tour guides with a vehicle where you can stay in your vehicle. And you're going to be able to drive through them. There's going to be stations, and you're going to be able to put your FM radio station to a certain frequency to catch that station's information that will be presented. So I think it's a very unique way of sharing information on a farm. And I would like to thank the Kerfeld family by St. Rose for hosting the family that hosts the event every year. It is a lot of work for them to make sure everything's prepped and ready to roll and allowing people to come through. This is a busy time of the year. As Chris and I were driving out here this morning, we saw a lot of hay down, and a lot of farmers are taking that first cutting of hay now and making forage and getting that ready to feed to their cows. And it's just one of the things that they're setting aside for a day to help bring the public in and show them what agriculture and dairy farms do here for our local communities. So that's going to start on a Saturday and bring the whole family to this ag event and see where the dairy products you enjoy at your kitchen table all begin at a family dairy farm near you. And that'll be the Kerfeld Family Farm. And rain or shine, it's going to be from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30. It's a drive-through guided tour. And so there'll be guided tour. That means there'll be people with a pilot car and running you through the farm. And you'll get to see dairy cattle of all ages, learn about robotic milkers, and see how the Kerfeld family is caring for their animals and their land to produce their dairy products, I should say. And there'll be a free breakfast and dairy treats available to all those who join in for the day of fun. So they're going to be providing a bag of lunch and treats. Okay. And please begin your day at the Melrose Area High School. And I think most of you folks know where that's located. A pilot car will lead you to the farm. There'll be no parking or walking at the farm. And let's just keep that in mind. So show up at the Melrose High School parking lot, and you'll be directed there on how to get behind a pilot car. And you can enjoy the tour anytime between 7:30 and 1:30. Say you had a little too much fun Friday night and you didn't get up until 9 in the morning and you're going, got it, I missed the start of the breakfast on the farm. No, that's fine. If you got there at 10 o'clock, I know Chris, he's not an early riser. He'll probably get there about maybe noon. Show up for brunch.
I'm actually part of the presentation for one of the stops for the vehicle, so I actually have to be there by 6 o'clock in the morning. So I've kind of backpedaled myself to figure out when I have to get up, and it's sometime around 5 o'clock or so.
That's on a Saturday. Way to go.
5 o'clock on a Saturday, that's pushing it, and so I'm really excited to be a part of it, so I'm looking forward to it.
You know what these dairy farmers do every day of the week.
Yeah, hats off to all the dairy farmers in the county who get up that early in the morning, because
they are some hard-working people.
Yeah, that's not early morning. Nope, not me. Late at night, 12 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock a.m., I'm good to go. I can keep going till 1, no problem. 5 o'clock in the morning, I do not want to be up.
So what are you doing live then there?
You want to talk a little bit about your station while you grab your material there. I'm just going to say Breakfast on the Farm is held annually on the first Saturday in June at a working dairy farm. Visitors can see firsthand where milk and our favorite products, ice cream, cheese, yogurt, comes from. Breakfast on the Farm isn't about dairy, though. Beef, swine, sheep, goats, poultry, and crops of Stearns County are also showcased through exhibits and activities at the farm. And then, if you want to talk a little bit about the station, you're going to be at the tour. There's going to be several stations, and Chris, as part of the Natural Resources Conservation Service, is going to be talking about some of the things that the Kerfelds have done for conservation.
Yeah, I've got kind of the conservation section. They're going to be looks like about 5 different stations, and the way you're going to get the information is I've never been part of this, so it's all a learning experience for me, but it looks like you're going to have some sort of a radio station, and we're going to provide the information that way. And so you're going to learn about dairy, calf, and cow health, what cows eat and their nutrition, growing crops and protecting the land, how cows are milked and housed, and you'll get a breakfast at the end. So basically what I've tasked to talk about looks like it's conservation. So we're going to talk about contours, cover crop rotation, and buffer strips, water quality, talk about kind of the setbacks, farmers living on or near the land they farm, just kind of understanding the importance of cover crops and soil health. So I figure we're going to that's one part of it. I'm working with 2 other folks, and I'm not sure. I know Matt Bruette, but Nathan Druitz.
He's the Stearns County Extension educator.
Yeah, they're going to talk about crops and manure management, and I'm going to deal with the conservation side of things. So it should be a really good, informative trip, so I'm looking forward to it. Too bad it's early in the morning, but, after about a pot of coffee, we should be good to go. But notice that Chris, Natural Resources Conservation Service, will be attending.
The one and only.
Yes, and Dennis has promoted it, but will not be attending at all.
Yeah, for the first time in many years, I'm not going to be part of the Breakfast on the Farm, which is very disappointing, but I've got a wedding for a friend of mine down in southeast Minnesota, so I need to celebrate his daughter getting married and drink some beer.
Sure.
At the reception. And celebrate. So that's what I'll be doing.
Okay.
Chris will be drinking milk in the morning, and I'll be drinking beer in the afternoon.
No.
At different locations in the state.
I'll be drinking coffee, then maybe
you
some milk.
You might even have a drip line right to your blood vein.
It'll be IV'd right to it. Be right above me.
So then these are going to be what Chris described as he's going to be presenting. Will you be like sitting in front of a mic somewhere just talking, or sitting out there with a mic in front of everybody, or you don't know?
I am going to be flying by the seat of my pants on exactly what the platform is.
Sure.
I have my information, and whether I'm going to be sitting or standing, I figure maybe I will just go with what it is.
So are you going to be looping, like going through the presentation, stopping, and then starting over and doing it again, and stopping and doing it again?
It sounds like that's what we're going to be doing. It sounds like it's they're going to stop for a few minutes, and I don't know the time frames, but it looks like they're going to stop for a few minutes. We're going to cover some quick items, and then they're going to continue to drive.
I see. Good.
But with 1,000 people expected and vehicles, I think it's going to be pretty much a stream of folks coming through. So
yeah, I'm guessing there'll probably be 3-4 cars in front of a station, all tuned in, while Chris and his colleagues are talking about what's happening at this station.
Yeah.
When it was live, like when it was at Mill Creek Dairy, Tom and Donna Gregory, then they had small groups of 10 to 15 come through consistently from 8 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. And you just continue to share the information, a similar story to each group as they walk through.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't be near as colorful, I'm sure, as it has in the past when Dennis has done it, but we'll try to make it as exciting as possible.
Perfect. We'll talk more with Dennis Fuchs and Chris Hogge coming up. It's 9:30 news time, Minnesota News Network, KASM Radio. Our Answers Partyline today for your Thursday, June the 3rd, as we continue our conversation with Dennis Fuchs from the Soil and Water Conservation District and Chris Hogge, Natural Resources Conservation Service. We were talking about breakfast on the farm. Dennis has more on that.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the Kerfeld family. I want to thank Tim, Isaac, Carly, Nicholas, Riley, Carrie, Rosie, and Art, Nathan, Jessica, Kristen, Michael. I know the work that goes into producing dairy products and hosting the breakfast on the farm. And really would like to thank you from our office for the work you're doing there. And just a little background to the listening members of KASM. The Kerfields milk 280 cows and raise 275 heifers and farm 500 acres of crops on their 3-generation farm near St. Rose, Minnesota. And just also want to give a plug. They are Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certified, part of the Minnesota Department of Ag program. And I had the luxury of delivering a 12-pack of beer to them a year ago. There's a great bunch of farmers out there. And then, the amount of work that goes into putting a breakfast on the farm, I also want to just go through the planning committee quickly. And that includes Russ Atkinson with Compeer Financial, Dana Adams with the University of Minnesota Extension, Tom and Donna Gregory, Mill Creek Dairy, Jack Hales with VitaPlus, Brad Herkenoff with Central Minnesota Credit Union, Art and Rosie Kerfeld, Dennis, Marlene, Heather Landwehr, Kate McAndrews, Carrie Middendorf, Tom Peterson, Craig Rarick, Sarah Rarick, Marvin and Michelle Roy, Catherine Statz, Andrew Duvier, and Perry and Sarah Keekley, who were the 2017 hosts. So just thank you very much, Planning Committee, for putting a great show together during a pandemic. And I'm sure Chris will do a great job covering for me at the event.
I will try my best. I got big shoes to fill.
And then we wanted to talk a little bit about cover crops. I don't know how many of you witnessed the wind erosion that we had here a few weeks ago when we had wind gusts up to 40-plus miles an hour. It was amazing to see that amount of soil move in. This is 2021. We saw that back in the Dust Bowl of the 30s, and yet we're still seeing massive problems. If we don't get rain in the next few days, and then we see another windy event like we had, we're going to see more soil movement. And cover crops is just one of those things that you can do to help keep your soil in place and improve soil health over time. And some of you listeners may have received a mailing from us where we have some special dollars for folks located from Melrose, Cold Spring to Richmond, and in our special project area, All Acres for Our Water. There's drinking water supply management areas, and drinking water supply management areas are where the city's or community's well is recharged, and any activity occurring in that recharge area can influence the water quality of what the folks are drinking for that community. And one of the things that we do see in our communities of Cold Spring and Melrose is elevated nitrate levels. And if that gets too high, you can have I won't use a scientific term because it's hard for me to spit out, but it's called blue baby syndrome, where folks that have this actually are suffering oxygen deprivation, and too much nitrates can cause that, especially in infants less than 6 months of age. So the Minnesota Department of Health has a drinking water quality standard of 10 part per million, and those wells are not over that, but they're moving in that direction. So there's things that we can do to minimize the amount of nitrates. And nitrates come from septics, manures, and nitrogen fertilizers. There's a variety of sources for nitrate. And in a row crop such as corn, soybean, their roots sometimes can allow that nitrate to move into our groundwater supply, our drinking water supply, because the nitrate's got the same charge as soil, and it moves with water. And if you don't have a real fibrous root system, it can move past the root zone and cause some problems with our drinking supply. So cover crops are something that's there in the spring. If you put, say, let's pretend you're putting cereal rye out in the fall after you harvest your soybeans, and that's out there taking up nutrients in the spring. If you saw some signs out and about, we have been trying to get more signage along farmers that are working with us getting cover crops. That uses the water and also is taking up those nutrients. So it's recycling those nutrients and minimizes the amount of nitrates that can go in our groundwater. Now, we have these special programs, and hopefully if you got a mailer from us, there's a lot of good information in there about our programs, why you should be concerned, and how to get a hold of us if you'd like to proceed with some cover crop on your farm. Please get a hold of us as soon as you get done with that first crop of alfalfa. and we can start working you through the system to get some technical assistance. And then there's other opportunities, Chris, to leverage EQIP.
Yep, we can use EQIP dollars for getting cover crops planted, and they'll be having a sign up probably here. It won't be dollars for this summer, but it would be dollars for next summer. But there is a lot of benefit behind planting a cover crop, especially when it comes to soil health, wind erosion. Like you mentioned before, there was the ability to plant a cover crop that would recycle your nutrients. You can also use cover crops as a feed source for any kind of cattle or animal operations. It also helps with soil erosion and improves water quality management, which is very beneficial for those DWSMA areas. And like I said before, we do have EQIP cost assistance. There are some state funds and county funds, but if you are interested in doing cover crops, and I know you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, this is too early to think cover crops. Well, not really, because you've got all the plants, you've got everything planted, hopefully, for everybody, and before you know it, we're going to be into harvest, or we're going to be harvesting small grains, and those are really good opportunities to be planting cover crops after small grain or after silage, and they can provide a lot of benefit to your farming operation. And so basically kind of what some things to think about is, why are you planting the cover crop? So what is your overall goal for planting that cover crop? And kind of think about that. Are you looking for feed production? Are you looking for recycled nutrients? Are you looking for soil health, erosion protection? There's also some benefit to weed management. So kind of think about why you want to plant a cover crop. And then where do you start? After you figure out kind of what your goal is for the cover crop, where you start is to basically call and talk to folks at the office. We have been working with a lot of folks individually throughout Stearns County and throughout my team on developing a seed mix that meets what your overall goal is for your farming operation. So if you kind of put together what your goal is, we can help you meet that goal by putting together some sort of seeding plan that would meet that. And we would be able to determine your location, which will help us determine which programs would work best for you and could provide financial assistance so you can work through the system. And again, this is not just a Stearns County thing, and I know this radio station covers more counties. This is an entire Minnesota opportunity. We have EQIP, and I know there's state cost share funds in other counties for this type of deal. So if you're interested in it, please give us a call, and we can direct you to whichever county you're in. You can still give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to direct you to those offices, and they can provide assistance. And I guess now we'll cue Dennis. The phone number is
320-251-7800, extension 3.
And do we have an email address, Dennis, that folks can send things to?
Yeah, that's on our website. Visit our website by Googling Stearns County SWCD. We actually have all our staff located there, so you can directly email if you're working with Chris or any of his team or any of my team, our joint team. We have all the staff and their email addresses there. Our office is still closed at the time being. We're hoping that we can open that up here this summer, and we're waiting for additional guidance from Washington, D.C., but the way things are going, it's looking positive that we should be able to open up sometime midsummer. One thing.
I want to slip in here because we may not be open for business for people to stop in, but we are set up to meet you out in the field
and the best
work
place
with
to meet.
Exactly, and work with you out on the farm. So if you're interested and you call us or give us a contact, we will be able to set up an appointment. We'll meet you out in the field. We'll be looking at the site. We'll more than likely already have soils and LIDAR, which is our elevation maps, already printed with aerial photography to be able to kind of help you set up your cover crop. And the last thing I'll say about cover crops is you're probably sitting there thinking, oh my God, the government wants me to seed it all down to cover crops. Absolutely 100%. I do not want your entire farming operation in cover crops. I would like you to experiment with cover crops. I would like you to put 20 acres or 40 acres or maybe 80 acres into a cover crop to see how it works in your farming operation, because every field, every farm, every operation is different. So do not, if you're farming 1,000 acres or 500 acres or 20 acres, do not put the entire thing into cover crops, because you will not be successful.
So how do you find that ideal ratio? Or is it just based on
It's based on producers' comfort and how they have the experience they have with cover crops. I know some guys who have been doing cover crops for years. They are cover crop guru. They know exactly what they want to plant, where they want to plant it, when they want to plant it. In those situations, those guys plant the whole thing.
Right, and Chris brings up a great point there. So our staff are working with folks that have been doing cover crop for years, and they're gaining their knowledge. They're sharing that knowledge, and we can take that knowledge, and as we're working with somebody that's just experimenting with cover crops for the first time, we'll share that knowledge with you to make sure that your level of success is going to be much higher than without that technical assistance. So we got a great team, and they're willing to share that information. And I just want to share with listeners, some of the farmers in central Minnesota that have livestock have been putting cereal rye in after, like, say, corn silage. They just no-till directly into that, and if they got to put manure out there, they inject that after the cereal rye was no-tilled into that stubble. And then, I should say corn stalks. And then in the spring, they actually take a forage crop the end of May where that cereal rye comes back, and right now is it's done, it's off, and then they go back in and no-till soybeans directly into that grain stubble from the cereal rye. And that really protects the soil. And also with weed control, they're seeing a lot less weeds pressure in these situations. And soybeans can be planted a little bit later in May, and they do quite well. So you're actually getting that extra forage for your livestock, and you're still harvesting that soybean crop with minimal yield reduction from being planted a little bit later in May. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and we've got farmers making this happen, and there's a lot of information to make you more successful. So just give our office a call, and we can come out to your field, your farm, and see what you got in mind. And then the other thing that we like to do is develop a more of a conservation plan for your whole farm. And the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program has an assessment tool where we can look at your nutrient management plan, any areas that might be experiencing erosion. And I can tell you right now, if you got areas that are having erosion occur on your fields, by incorporating cover crops, you're going to reduce that significantly. Because you're minimizing the amount of tillage, and you're increasing that cover throughout the year. There's just less chance for soil to move because it's armored, it's protected. And those are some of the things that we really encourage you to participate with. And then, if you do get Minnesota Ag Water Quality certified, that's where you get that 12-pack of Third Street beer, too, and I get to come out to your farm and deliver that, which I really enjoy. And we've been doing that on a lot of farms. It's really picking up momentum. Farmers really appreciate that level of expertise delivered from staff, looking at all of the things that are happening on the farm, including how you're managing nutrients. And we work very closely with our ag retailers, and we want to make sure that the right amount are applied at the right time, at the right rate, and in the right form. And that's all part of the assessment that we do with our farmers. So that brings a lot of value, and sometimes we can save you some fertilizer. You start looking at the manure, you start crediting the manure, the nutrients in your manure, the legume crop, the nitrogen that's carried over to your next crop. There's a lot of value with working with a crop advisor or one of our staff in developing that conservation plan. Were you going to add something, Chris? It looked like you were going to say something.
I was going to say that along with Ag Water Quality Certification, you also have the opportunity to get into the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is CSP, and that is a 5-year program that will help you enhance your entire farming operation and provide you some cost assistance to basically experiment with enhancements for 5 years. And the other thing I was going to add is, just because you are Ag Water Quality certified and you get that case of beer does not mean that you have to share that with Dennis. And I don't know if I have heard yet that anybody has ever shared it with Dennis. So that is yours to keep for yourself. Don't let Dennis talk you out of a beer.
So once you're certified in that respect, Dennis and Chris, what do you have to do to maintain that, or how do you keep down the line, I guess?
It's when that plan of attack is developed for the becoming Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certified, it's a 10-year contract that's signed, and there's a variety of conservation practices that are identified that gets you certified. And to get certified, you need to get an 8.5 score out of 10 using this Water Quality Ag Index tool, and that is all documented. And then if there's a change in the operation or you buy land and stuff, you contact staff, and they work with you to make sure that's incorporated and in part of the plan.
Okay, got an interesting question from a listener. It says, what are your feelings on tiling fields for drainage? Do you support this or support other alternatives?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I think ag drainage is needed in some soils, and if nutrients are managed properly, you can minimize any of the nutrients, and if you follow pesticide label recommendations, you're going to minimize transport of those into our streams. And there's also other conservation drainage management tools out there, and EQIP has some of those.
Yep, we do have some for EQIP for drainage water management.
It's kind of edge of field treatment system. So it could be a bioreactor to help remove any nitrates before it goes into a ditch. So if ag drainage is done properly, it's very, very important. And I know for some folks to properly to improve soil health, you need that good internal drainage, and you can get some improvement with internal drainage by having perennial crops such as alfalfa. That has a very deep root system, and that also helps with infiltration deeper into the soil profile. So if you don't want to do ag drainage, there's other conservation practices that can help. But in some soils, it's very difficult to be timely, especially in a row crop, corn, soybean situation with your operations. Either getting the crop planted in the spring, or if you get a really wet fall, you can't get it harvested on time, and you have to probably wait until the soil is frozen before you can harvest. So there definitely is advantages to having ag drainage, and there's components that we can add, such as the conservation drainage management plan and a holding net. That I know we've got technology to hold the water back on the field, like say your tile lines are draining right now. There are structures that would hold the water back. You could shut it off now because we got 90 degree. I don't want any of that groundwater in the soil profile where the roots are going to be. Maybe not today, but they'll be there next month. I don't want to lose any of that. So you can hold it back, and then the roots could get there in a month and start using that water.
Yeah, that's a water control structure with the boards inside is what you're talking about.
Yeah, yep.
For the drainage water, or for the tiling question, there are places and locations that tiling is beneficial, and I agree with Dennis on it. There are some other things that you might want to take into consideration if you're doing it, because now I have to do the legal speak. If you are looking to tile any location that is a farm field or non-farm field, you should be filling out a 1026 prior to doing the work. Now, 1026 is basically completed at your FSA office. You can call them and set up an appointment to complete this. Once it's completed, then it will come over to basically my office, and we will submit it for a certified wetland determination. This will keep you out of trouble and should be done. You will also have to talk to, I believe, environmental services to ensure that you're not impacting any wetlands around. That is legality talk, and I apologize, but we had to go there just to keep you guys safe. So if you're thinking about tiling wet areas, please complete a 1026. Let's make sure everything's kosher and you're okay to do it. Second, in some of those situations where you are tiling, is it something that you're tiling because you're sitting water and it's wet all the time? If it is, maybe tiling isn't going to be your best option. Maybe enrolling that into some sort of a CRP type program where you buffer those areas, and then you farm the best, buffer the rest is kind of the same. So we can work with you in those areas to develop a wetland and buffer that wetland, and then you could farm the remaining location of the farm. We can even plan that for your farming operation. So if you're farming north, south, east, west, we can maybe even work in how many passes you have to go on either side of it so it fits your farming equipment. So we can work a lot around with CRP on those things. So just because it's wet does not always mean that tiling is the best option.
Right.
There are multiple options that you can look at, and there's a lot of possibilities. Sometimes standing water is a symptom.
Right.
And that symptom means that you don't have good infiltration rates in your farming operation, and that is tied to your soil health and the ability for your soil to drain. And if you put tile in, it may help a little, but you may still sit wet.
But Chris, is the remedy always like you can look at it and say, okay, this is going to work or this isn't going to work? Or is it, or could it be, well, you got 50-50, we could go either way? Does it ever get to that point? Or
yeah, it's basically comes down to what the landowner wants to do.
Okay.
All of our programs are voluntary,
right.
So they can say, I'm going to tile it. We just need to make sure you can tile it. So that's very important. You can say, I want to tile, but you need to follow a certified wetland determination to ensure that you're not going to come into any problems by tiling it. And if that is the case and you come into issues and you can't tile it, then we can roll things into CRP and we can take care of it that way or into another program. But if you get a certified wetland determination and tiling's okay to do, then a producer can go out and tile that and be successful. We can actually help you we can't help with cost assistance for the tiling, but maybe we could help with designing of the tile so you could use one of those water control structures and you could actually back your water and maintain that. Kind of the way it works that Dennis was explaining is you maintain the water level based on the root depth. So that's kind of how it works. You remove the boards as your roots get deeper, and you add them, and you keep water for when you need it for available. So like now when everybody's wet or everybody's dry, you could have actually kept the boards in and maintained more water so your tiles wouldn't have been draining in the spring. So it's kind of you manage that internal water rather than just letting it run all off. But if you have questions, whoever that was that sent the question in, if you want more information, please give me a call and we'll be more than happy to talk about it, because I'd really prefer to keep you out of trouble before we get into trouble.
Sure.
That's a good point. Yeah, you always want to check with your local Environmental Services Department for the Wetland Conservation Act and NRCS for the Swamp Buster provisions of the Farm Bill. So you get a lot less problems if you're proactive and visit with folks.
And highlights, Breakfast on the Farm this Saturday, give it to us.
Yeah, so show up at the Melrose High School parking lot anytime between 7:30 and 1. And it's going to be out at the Kerfield Family Farm near St. Rose. There's going to be a drive-through. So plan on being there. Saturday is going to be a great day to be sitting in an air-conditioned car and learning lots of stuff.
Dennis and Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Dennis
Great
Fuchs,
day.
Thank you much. Dennis Fuchs, Chris Hogge with us here on KASM Radio. We got a minute past 10 o'clock. We've got news and more coming up.